Mm. You're alive.
Good evening. I am live. We are getting a late night start, but we hope that you can join us tonight. We are talking all things state testing and STAR, and I'm going to give people a few minutes to join us. I have a problem up here that 32% of the state got right. That means almost 70% got this wrong. So let's see why our fourth graders did not get this problem correct. That is what we are digging into tonight. And Kimberly, is this showing me who's live on YouTube or even who's joining us on Instagram at the top?
It's showing you Facebook and YouTube. Instagram, I will put it in the chat for you.
Okay. I'm going to give people a minute to join. All righty. So I am going to get started tonight. Our first problem, we are going to look at a fourth grade problem here. And 32 people, oh, drawing that really bad, in our state actually got this correct. So that's almost, if we approximate, right? That's almost 70% of our students who did not get this question correct. And we are going to dive into why. So we consider this diagram here, just off of my knowledge. A lot of students don't understand strip diagrams the way that they should. So this would be considered a strip diagram, and I know some get confused easily. And the thing about strip diagrams, there's two parts to them. So we always have a total, and then we have the parts. So it's very important that our students understand those two concepts right there. That your parts or pieces are always at our top, and then our total is always at the bottom. Whether we're multiplying, adding, subtracting these items, our parts are at the top, our total is at the bottom. So a family paid a total of $44. Well, all of our totals are looking right. 2 adult tickets and 3 children tickets to play miniature golf. The 2 adult tickets cost a total of $20. The strip diagram shows a way to find C, the cost of each children's ticket. All right. So, since we know that we're looking for C, it said we had 3 children's tickets. So, and we knew our 2 adult tickets cost $20 already. The 2 adult tickets cost a total. And I'm pointing out all of these words because on this test, word problems are heavy and reading is so important, as well as underlining and highlighting and whatever you can do. So it's really great to talk to your students about, hey, making sure to use all the resources that you can on the test, or asking for that sheet of paper so you can write some of these things down. So I circled the total because when I look at our answer choices, look here, we have two that has 20 twice. But we have to clearly know that the two adult tickets cost a total of 20. So that means we only have 120. So right there, C and D can be canceled. And then since it said we had 3 children's tickets, we know B would be our answer. But look at which answer choice was also the highest chosen. It was 46. And I suspect it's because of that word total. A lot of our students assumed that each adult cost $20 each. These are the kind of small errors that make these a highly missed problem, as well as, like I shared at the beginning, it's a lot of the times that our students don't understand the strip diagram format in the first place. And I know there's going to be some parents out here who are like, what is this strip diagram? But I'm such a proponent for it because it really helps our students when we start talking about ratios and proportions. It leads us into understanding fractions. When we start talking about parts and total, or part and whole, those vocabulary, we are going to see that as we progress in our math journey. So, if you're just joining us tonight, we are going over some of the highly missed TEKs, specifically for third and fourth grade tonight, and just really understanding, why did our students miss this? Where could some of those confusions come in, and how do we break this down and solve them? We're also hosting a STAR boot camp right now, which we are going over questions like these with our students and helping them so that they don't fall for these pitfalls. So here is another where about 37% of our students got this right. So that means about 60% got this wrong. And when we say our students, I'm talking about the whole state of Texas, whole state. Okay. It's millions of students. Only 40% got this correct. So right here, which decimal is equivalent? Okay. Well, hopefully our students know when that numerator is much larger than our denominator, we have a hole in here somewhere. There is a hole. So one of the first things we're going to do, or I tell my students, is take this denominator and put it over itself, 100, and subtract. Because we know that's a hole right there. And we're left with 70 over 100. So we know, and I'm going to make that, let's go with purple, that this here became a hole. I'm going to say it one more time. Our tests now are all digital. Make sure your students use pencil and paper when they can, or use the tools on the test. It's such a disadvantage to our babies if they do not use the tools that they get, because you do need to get this stuff out of your head and see it visually. We have a lot of students that are visual learners. Well, we know right now we have 70 over 100, and our students can work this a few ways. Okay. So we have 1 and 70 over 100. And since we know that 70 is not bigger than 100, we know we don't have another whole to take out. So we can eliminate A and we can eliminate D as well. Well, this is the part. So our students can do this 2 ways, actually. I'm going to change my color. We know it's the hundredths place. Well, they kind of trick us here. There's a 7 in our hundredths, and 7 is not 70. But what our students can do, they can add their own 0 in the hundredths place, and now they have 70. Or they can cancel out 2 zeros. or simplify. And now we have 7/10, which even more aligns with the way they wrote the answer choice. It's all about how they write it. So, one strategy you could tell your student is, since we know it's going to be in the hundredths place, make sure each of your answers, because adding a zero changes nothing, has a zero in the hundredths place. Well, that hundredths place, that makes it where our students can even visually see, oh, that's 7, this is 70. And even as you notice here, well, 31%, they picked that 7. And look at our other one that a lot of our students picked. They picked that 17. Even though that wasn't a whole, right? They probably canceled this 0 or thought, oh, this 170, it has to break out to be 17, but it's not. So there's absolutely some fundamentals there to make sure that we understand whatever our denominator is. We could subtract, we could put our denominator over the same numerator, subtract from our original fraction, and that's how we keep taking out our wholes. Fractions are always something a lot of our students struggle with. I'm going to do one more fourth grade problem, and then I'm going to go to third grade to show you all third grade. Kimberly, do we have any comments today before I keep moving? No, we're good? All righty, all righty. So now we have 30% got this correct. So that means about 70% did not get this correct. It's such a great idea well, we have time, right? We have about 4 weeks, according to what school you're in the state of Texas, to go over this with your student. Get one of these release tests. See if they can work these problems. Make sure that they understand why and what the pitfalls are. Because a lot of these standardized tests, they do the same things every time. There's only so many tricks you can do. And practice makes perfect. So we have 70% that did not get this in the whole state. So let's see here. A baker is ordering flour for 7 batches of donuts. The baker uses 15 sacks of flour in each batch. The flour comes in crates with 4 sacks of flour in each crate. How many crates of flour should the baker order? Oh, I can already guess what happened here. We see it all the time. If there is more than one step, our children choose that first step's answer. And I'm going to guess and bet that B must have been an answer that we're going to get from something here. So let's see. A baker is ordering flour for 7 batches of donuts. The baker uses 15 sacks of flour for each batch. So our first thing we're going to do is 15 times 7. And the flour comes in crates with 4 sacks in each crate. Well, actually, maybe I would have broke up my... Oh, no. I'll do it. Okay, so let me do this. 5. We carry our 3. 7 plus 3 is 105. Okay. The flour comes in crates with 4 sacks of flour in each crate. So now we're actually using division. Oh, I do see what happened here now that I'm looking at these choices. And you're going to see this too. So 4 into 10 goes 2 times. So that's a minus 8. We get 2. We bring down. We get 5. 4 goes into 25 6 times minus 24. We get 1. So it's 26 remainder 1. And here's the thing. How many crates of flour should the baker order? If we order 26, we are 1 bag of flour short. So we have to order 27. It's just like I'm ordering cookies for a birthday party and there's 30 people. So I can't just get 2 dozen. I'm gonna have to get a third dozen to make sure that I have enough for everybody coming to the party. And so when we're talking about having items, that is definitely a huge trick. And let me tell you, we've seen this on the test multiple times that they do this trick here. And a lot of our students fall for it because you got to get enough flour. All righty. So now let's go to some third grade questions here. I actually thought this was interesting, and I did not put the percentage for this one, but I chose only ones where it was like 30% of the state got it, 40% of the state got it. So it must have been around that. Michael or Mitchell plots a point on a number line to represent a number. The point is more than halfway between 200 and 300. So it's more than halfway. So we need to be underlining, making sure we're getting all these words. And I'm an adult, and you notice even the last question, I had to reread that a couple times. We try to coach our kids, read it 3 to 4 times. You got to make sure you're comprehending, and you got to make sure you're not missing anything. So what's important here, it's more than halfway. So we know this is about halfway. And honestly, if this was paper, I would put a good old 250 here to remind myself that's about half. Which number could Michael's point represent? Well, 250's here. We know it's not that. And it can't be 208, and it can't be 225 because it was more than halfway. So 264 makes sense. Not too challenging, but definitely a problem that our students have to have number sense and recognize what more than means. And knowing 250 would be halfway. So since it's more than that, it would have to be our 264. So surprising that so many students missed that one. Here we are on our third grade test on this one. 28% of the state got this correct. So that means about 70% of the whole state of Texas third graders did not get this correct. So let's see what happened here. What is this problem all about? Martin has 11 cages in a bird store. Each cage can hold 7 birds. The store has 21 birds in its cages. What is the greatest number of birds Martin can add to his cages? So first we need to know how many birds total could we get in there. So Martin has 11 cages and it can hold 7. So our babies are really doing 11 times 7, which is absolutely a multiplication problem that they can get. Most of them know 1 times 1 is that number, so 77. The store has 21 birds. What's the greatest number of birds Martin can have or add to the cages? Well, we got to subtract. And see here, it doesn't have any words that lead our students to subtract. There's no difference. There's no takeaway. This is actually a great problem to even use a strip diagram to kind of draw out what it looks like for you to understand that you want to subtract. So if you were here earlier, we did a strip diagram. So having that 77 is our total, and then knowing that the total cages are made up of 21 and something's missing here. That's what we're looking for. And we teach our students that you subtract what's missing here. And I would write it like that. Let me erase that. so that I can write underneath here. So now let's subtract. We get a 6 and we get 5. We get 56. So what did and if you look at the numbers, you could tell that a lot of students were probably really lost here. And I'm sure it came down to the reading or because they did not see 77. I'm telling you, a lot of them were like, oh, this is 77. They didn't even work on that other part, or they guessed. Because think about it, 21 of our kids picked 98. That's larger than the total number that they could have even had. So I definitely think this is a concept, just understanding and comprehending what they're reading and to do. Sticking with our strip diagram again, this one here, as crazy as this sounds, 8% of the state got this right. So what is this telling us? This strip diagram is something we have to be asking, because we have to make sure we're reviewing with our students, because 8% is wild. That means 92% of the kids in our state did not get this problem correct. That's a lot. 2 friends played a game. The first friend scored 339 points. The second friend scored 75 more points than the first friend. Which strip diagram can be used to find the total number of points both friends scored? Well, we said earlier today that our total is always one of our parts. And see, this one, we're looking for the total. So actually, and it can be either top or bottom. So these here, there's nothing that's just the total. We have a question mark and the whole strip. That means that top bar is our total. Okay. And then actually, if we look at the numbers here, look at the majority of what our students picked. 49 picked this one here, which I totally get, right? The first friend scored 339 points. So they got 339 there. The second friend scored 75 more points. The students didn't understand the more points than the first friend. So they just put their number there. They didn't know what was going on. They was like, oh, that has 39 and that has 75. So that's out. But then this one asks, so what's the total number of points for both friends? Well, some of our students, as we see here, 36% chose this one. They thought the 339 was the total, and that the 75 the friend scored, this missing piece was going to find us the total. But what they forgot was we have to have the total of both friends, not just one friend, but both. So this D satisfies both. We have the 339 of the first friend, and then the second friend scored 339 plus this second friend scored 75 more, and realizing that both of these numbers make up our second friend. And this is why 8% of our students got that wrong, which is quite a bit. Something to really think about, and this is definitely a concept, an area that if I had a third grader taking this test, I would be focusing on. So just as a reminder, we have STAR boot camp going on right now and we are doing these types of questions and analysis and working it through with our students. So you don't have to figure out where to get these questions. What do I need to tell my student? What can I help them with? What do they need? We don't have to do any of those things. If you come to our STAR boot camp, we have 3 more Saturdays. We're offering it 3rd grade through algebra, completely virtual. We are going through all of these highly missed questions. We are showing our students all the pitfalls. So there is no guessing of what are the pitfalls and why. So, how I'm breaking it down, these 3rd grade problems of why they miss and why these percentage and what the misconceptions were that caused the students to pick these other, that is what we are doing during our boot camp for the rest of our time. And don't worry if you've missed a couple weeks. Each week we are doing a different category or a different teak. So even though you missed the others, you can jump right in and be right where everyone else is. So I am going to keep going today. And let's look at another 3rd grade problem, but we're going to choose something else tonight. Let's go with this one here. And it looks like it's going to fall for some of the same thing. We had 21% to get this correct. So that's a little over 70%. So that's about a little over 75%, right? Really more like 79% that got this incorrect. A weekend bake sale, 295 cookies were sold on Saturday. On Sunday, 88 more cookies were sold than on Saturday. Right here, we just saw this same trickery, truth be told, in that strip diagram. And what did I say? This test has patterns. So we know what was the total number of cookies sold on Saturday and Sunday. So this time, instead of giving you a strip diagram, you got to do the same thing on by itself. So literally, we could set up a strip diagram here. We're looking for this total of both. We know that Saturday, we had 295. We know that Sunday, we had 295. Plus, we had more. We had 88 more. And so this right here, this line right here is the concept that our students have to understand. When something says more, I have more to really get this test correct. And so then our students would actually add all of these 3 up, and that's how they would get 678. Unfortunately for this question, I can't see which one was the most picked, but I guarantee, let's do this. Let's add 295 plus 88. I guarantee that was probably the most picked answer. So that's 18, carry 1. And looky here, it was there. Every time they have the trick there waiting for our students because they really want to see, do they understand? Can they comprehend what they're reading? For sure. Really doing that critical thinking. Well, tonight has been wonderful. We hope you will tune in on next week. We will be here a lot earlier. Same setup, different time. We're always here to help. Whether you want to join our STAR boot camp or private tutoring or get some of our items to get prepared for STAR, we are really here to help. We're not just Texas, we are also in Louisiana. If you have a student from Louisiana, South Carolina, or Massachusetts, we are absolutely happy to assist them as well. All righty, have a great evening, and we will see you next time.